Should you pay for your kids' college? Hey, it's Brian Mayer from lovehowdeep.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some things you should consider. Probably three questions you should ask yourself if you want to pay for your kids' college. So I know, when I was growing up, it really wasn't much of a thing. I guess there were a percentage of parents that would pay for their kids' college, but I think overall it wasn't as well sort of thought about or reasoned out as much as it is now. And I think probably part of the reason is because college is so expensive now. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I've heard people tell me, for like an accounting degree or something similar, I mean, you could be paying 30, 40, $50,000 a year. And that used to be where you would be paying that if you wanted to be a doctor. And so just insane amounts of money that people are having to pay for their school. So I'm going to give you three things to think about if you're considering this. Number one, think about what was it like for you? I mean, when you were growing up, if you went to college, was that something your parents paid for? Was it not? How did you feel about that? What did it do for you? Was it a good thing? Did it not work out so well for you? So that would be the first thing I would ask you to think about. For me, um, and again, I'm 53 as the time I'm recording this, and so again, back when I was in college in the early 90s, it really wasn't much of a thing, and so my school was not being paid for by my parents, and so uh, and of course, it was back in a time when college wasn't that expensive, especially if you chose community colleges and you went in state, things like that. But yeah, just again, think about back to your childhood and your when you were in college. How was it paid for, and how'd that work out for you? Again, for me, I paid for all of it and got loans and eventually paid it all off. But I think it really, for me, I think it really taught me to, because I had some skin in the game, so to speak, really was helpful uh, to, I guess, kind of teach me and mold me a little bit into budgeting and making my money work for me. And so, yeah, it was for me, it was a positive, I think, that it was not being paid for. The second thing I want you to think about is, think about your child. You know your child better than anybody. Do you think this would benefit them or not? If you got really little ones, it's probably hard to know. You don't really kind of understand their personality or how things might work with them just yet. So, that might be a little bit of a harder, I guess, thing to judge depending. But, if they're teenagers, maybe a better idea. But of course, you got to plan for these things too. So, but I will say, and I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but I know a lot of the college savings plans. I believe if your child does not end up going to college, or maybe if you choose not to give them the money, I believe you can get it back. I don't know if there's penalties or taxes or how all that works. So be something to look into. But I guess my point is if it all worked in your favor, it might be a situation where you could just start it, if they're really young, and then kind of as they go along, as they age, you'll be able to better understand if it's something that would benefit them or not. So yeah, and it can be tough to know that. I mean, we want to do the best for our kids. We want to give them everything that we can. And to know that by us, planting these seeds, giving them this money, it's going to create just maturity and give them a leg up, so to speak, and not feel like a handout where they're just taking and not getting anything from it, not learning, not changing. Then I would say number three is I would say to uh, really think about what's this going to do to you financially? Is this going to be a problem? I know I saw Dave Ramsey recently said something like, well, he was really talking about, I guess, buying an RV, but he said, if you could sit $100,000 in your living room and set it on fire, would your life change? And I guess his point was if it's not going to change, then maybe it's okay. I know this is a little bit different. This is kind of a little bit more of an investment, but you might want to think about that. Like, if I try to save up $200,000 for my kids, and kind of give that to them. And now I don't have that anymore. Is that really going to change my life? So you really need to think about that. And so those are kind of the three areas that I would ask you to think about. And then kind of wrap it all up into prayer. I mean, pray with your spouse about this. I think that's most important, and get on the same page, and take your time in making this decision, because I know it's a pretty big one for sure. So hopefully that helps you kind of think about some things that are important when it comes to whether or not you should do something like this. And hey, before you go, make sure you like, follow, subscribe wherever you're seeing this. Would really appreciate it. Get all the great content that we have. And then finally, if you and your spouse are struggling with maybe some small hurts or big betrayals, we've got an online forgiveness course that we would love for you to be able to partake in. If you go to lovehowdeep.com/forgiveness, and when you purchase it, if you put in the code F as in Frank, G as in George 19, so that's FG19, you'll get it for $19. And it'll really help you, and it'll help support us. Thanks so much. Take care.